Hey guys, welcome to the Export Fundas podcast. First off, I'd like to apologize to all of you for the 2.5 week break. We, of course, want to do the show on a weekly basis. A lot of personal commitments which I got stuck with. Jagaji was still very excited to join, but I was not prepared. So, sorry about that. But we are here and we have a very exciting topic for you. So, Jagat sir, exporting Indian culture, something which all of us are very proud of. How do you make this into an exportable business? This is all we're going to discuss in today's episode. So, to start with, the very first thing about exporting Indian culture, Jagaji, is can you give us some superb case studies, some superb examples? We'll start with some great examples and then we'll get into the details. So, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Nikhil, and congratulations on becoming a father. It's a milestone in your life, and spend as much time you can because as they grow up, they won't have time for you. Okay, and motivate all youngsters in your age group to have children.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so congratulations. And
Yeah.
yeah, so Nikhil, we are talking today about cultural exports. So I want to begin with sharing this very interesting Wolfenson's framework, which talks of 7 forms of capital. And very interesting. I mean, Wolfenson was the president of World Bank for many years, and he said that is there are 3 lower forms of capital and 4 higher forms of capital. Okay, so one of the 3 lower form of capital is natural resource and man-made infrastructure and finance. Money itself is a lower form of capital. So uh, if you see, what is the 4 higher forms of capital? Right. So that is interesting. And amongst the 4 higher forms of capital is the institutional capital, knowledge capital, human capital, and the highest form of capital is cultural capital.
Okay.
So the when we talk of cultural capital, we are talking of examples like tourism, like examples like architecture, right? Trust, wealth creation attitude, long term thinking, and the creative part of it, language, music. And when we talk of cultural exports, then we are talking about uh, handicrafts, because that what is handicraft? Whether in a textile form or any other form, wood form, metal form, handicraft reflects cultural, artistic, and traditional heritage of a country, right? So that is the highest form of capital. From here we take the journey. Now you asked about some examples. I'll give you 3 examples. See, Madhubani painting from Bihar is like 1,000-year old art. Okay, and the people used to do that as a hobby. But what is Madhubani painting? It is a story of Ramayana and Mahabharata. It is put into paper or into the fabric, and now that is our heritage, that is our culture. And but we are not exporting it too much. And what is happening is because the artists do not get paid well for it, even though in the market it is sold at very high price, because there are a lot of in between players who make money. The children of the artists or even other youngsters are not taking up that uh, that hobby, I will say, or that work. So
And that art
Madhubani,
is getting lost.
correct, art is getting lost to the next generation. So Madhubani painting is one example where there has been a transformation, because we were implementing one smart village program, and under that we had adopted this. And what we realized, that why should we limit ourselves to paper and textile fabric for the Madhubani painting? We started taking this art to drawing rooms of people. we put it up. They would make the entire Madhubani painting in the drawing room walls, and also outside walls of offices, and they got contracts from so many foreign countries also because of this. So this is one example of exporting Madhubani painting, right? Then another is Chanderi silk. We were involved in Chanderi is in Madhya Pradesh, and Chanderi silk is again a very traditional art form, and this was under a United Nations Cluster Development Program, UNIDO, and they were simply making Chanderi silk sarees, and sarees wearing even in India has been going down, you know uh, so because more and more women are joining workforce, and it is difficult to wear sari in a working environment. So we said, this art will die, so why don't we start making curtains and pillow covers and bed sheets and home furnishings out of Chanderi silk, because the fabric is very good and the art is there. So
Okay.
because of that, suddenly, then I still recall the first export order came from Germany.
Wow.
So that is another example. Then third example is Kutch embroidery. Kutch is the region where a lot of people. It's a desert region. Is the largest district of India, and there is a lot of handmade work happening there. Uh, Again, the same thing happened, is that today they are exporting to many countries, even though still the challenge is that it is still being done by intermediates. So there are merchant exporters, there are traders who are exporting it, and there is a need to directly connect the artisans to the market. So it is, and this is not only in India. you know this we can do, if I give you some successful examples, and this is what we need to do in India, is take the example of Tibetan singing bowl, right? It is a global today. Batik textile of Indonesia, right? You have your Matryoshka dolls from Russia. If you remember, those dolls are there, which are one inside
Correct.
another.
Correct. Yes.
Then there are these Turkish mosaic lamps, which are handmade. Then Kokeshi dolls, right, from Japan, and then Moroccan leather paws, it like cushion, right. Then there is a Peruvian textile, and then African batik art, right. Then we have Native American dream catchers, which are like hanging, art craft, and then Swedish Dala horses. So these are all global.
Right. Jagat sir, just a moment. I think your camera is disconnected. Can you just check?
Mm,
Just go to settings and click on camera.
yeah, yeah.
Guys, while we sort this issue out, uh, I urge you to drop a comment below of any other types of arts or export items you've seen from different countries, and what do you think Indians should export? Let us know in the comment section below. So back to you, Jagat
I
sir.
think I think let me get back to the Mac one, because there
Yeah,
is
yeah,
some
sure, sure, sure.
loose connection here. Mm,
So click
Sorry
on
for this.
settings, camera.
Just yeah. Yeah, it's not. I don't know what's the challenge.
No issues, sir. Just refresh and join back.
Okay.
So we have Jagat sir back.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
Jagat sir,
Yeah.
let's continue. Sorry for the technical issues, guys. So yeah, you were giving an example, right, of these dream catchers, of the Russian dolls. I mean, you see a lot of these iconic things. I'll tell you personally, some items which I really appreciate. Japanese were known for their swords, katanas, and their blades. And I have a
Correct.
Japanese knife, and it's absolutely incredible. I mean, and that's something which I guess over there for generations people have been building. It's almost like a collectible item, but the crazy part is it's a collectible item I can use.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Correct.
yeah, like I understand this, and as you mentioned, you gave example of the silk of Madhubani paintings. So these have not become these kind of icons, or these have not ended up permeating a lot of these spaces. So any reason why that's happening, Jagat sir?
No, so the challenge is that first of all, we need to have some kind of a quality control. If you see those Russian dolls, you will see that anywhere you find it, you will find a similarity in finishing. So first is the quality control, and second is branding, like branding at a national level. So if you see, those dolls are very well branded, you know and then there are one problem, another, if you have to talk about Indian brands which are today global, I will talk about, say, pashmina silk, your pashmina shawl, right? Now pashmina shawl is famous in the world. But there is a lot of imitation. 90% of the pashmina shawl sold globally is imitation. It is not original. So we have to protect it through a IPR. We have to protect it through a geographical indication, GI, which, and we have to market it. We have the GI, but we are not marketing it. We have to promote the brand through a GI or through an IPR, right? And then another challenge is the infrastructure for these artisans, because our artisans work from home.
Right.
So it is very difficult to have a uniformity in quality under that situation. So maybe some kind of a cooperative movement and some CSR activity, which is happening. Tata Trust and some of those are doing, but that, and then there is this market research. You see, our packaging. If you see any of these examples of the global names I gave, the packaging is amazing, but we have to improve on packaging. Take examples of Indian famous, handicrafts, like Tanjore paintings are
Right.
amazing. Your
Right.
chikankari embroidery, your
Right.
bidri ware, which is done on the metal,
Hmm.
uh, Katha embroidery in West Bengal, terracotta pottery, then kalamkari art, then there is dokra art in metal. But if you see the packaging which we are using in this, see,
Hmm.
the consumer is a who is a consumer, okay, of handicrafts. Generally, richer countries, prosperous countries. So
Right.
US, Canada, entire Europe, Brazil also I will call into that list. South Africa, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Japan, even China. You will be surprised. China is also a good market for Indian handicraft, but we are not pushing. Australia, New Zealand. Now the people in these countries, always want to identify emotionally to artisans. So we have to position that. Then also lack of, they so there is this exploitation. If I am an artist, I am working to make a good handicraft product, but then I'm not getting the price for it, so my heart is not into it, right? So there has to be a proper channel. We have to have a showroom or a warehouse and online sales. Then design and innovation, it should change. I give you example of Chanderi silk. Chanderi silk was always only in a sari, but the moment it went into design and innovation into home furnishings, the market became 10 times, right?
Wow.
And it is exportable. So these are, and e-commerce. We have to see, handicraft is something which people will buy on e-commerce, B2C
Right.
portals. So we have to get into that. Tech adoption is less. So that is also, and then there are some products which have seasonality, like
For
pashmina silk.
example. Right. Right. Right.
Pashmina shawl you get only in a particular season, and that is why
Okay.
there is a lot of imitation, you know.
Okay.
But we have to have a protection on that. Then see, let me tell you a very interesting thing, that why these developed countries are markets of for handicraft, because they do not make things by hand. They have machinery equipment, they had industrial revolution. So people appreciate, but the fact is that how do you convince them that it is handmade? Because nowadays even China is copying a lot of hand yeah in the machine. So
Right.
we need to have a some kind of a hallmark, some kind of a handmade certification labeling. We can use QR code to be able to then traceability that which artist made it, you know, which artist has made it. It is very much possible to do through a QR code. If I go to a shop in US and I see an article there, I like it, I see a QR code, I'll scan and I will know which artist made it. You know, that will make it more reliable for them to know that okay, by buying this I am supporting this artist and it is actually handmade. Yeah. So it can also maybe take me to a website where there can be a video of the artist actually making it. So there is a lot of technology adoption which should happen, which is not happening. So and that
Right.
is why we are not able to create the brand.
Interesting. So, guys, I mean, this, I hope this sets the context as we continue discussing this. So, let's get into the first, absolutely first point about what we want to discuss today, which is, identifying opportunities for your particular product. Or if you are an entrepreneur who has artists, or you yourself are an artist. So, which international markets hold big promise? What specific aspects do a lot of these countries and markets find most appealing?
Yeah, so Nikhil, as I mentioned, the high per capita income countries, uh, I about 11 of them: U.S., Canada, Europe, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Japan, even China. I would say. I recall one of my student from my institute. She was making handmade bangles, right? And she took part in an exhibition in China, and she said the longest, the largest crowd in the entire handicraft exhibition was in her booth. Because these are glass bangles and very colorful and very design oriented. And um she said it was a 5 day exhibition. In one day, entire thing what she had taken got sold. So there is a lot of market because China also has a lot of rich people, right? It is a $19 trillion economy today. So those are Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, South Africa. So in every country in the world there is a percentage of population which is rich and upper middle class, and even middle class people are, they want to decorate their home because home is something cherished by middle class. So markets are actually all over the world, but 70% of Indian handicraft goes to these 11 countries. And the model to do that is, I keep saying, is B2C e-commerce, right? Because all these countries which I mentioned has only three things are required in B2C. Anybody in the world who has an internet connection, a smartphone or a computer, and a credit or debit card is your customer, right? So all these countries have high percentage for all the three, and that is why if some stocks are maintained in some countries through a proper market research and demand forecast, uh, and it is delivered through e-commerce next day or in maximum in 2 days, because most of these handicrafts are bulky, so it is not possible to send from India from the point of view of freight cost, as individual delivery. So stock it there and sell. So that's the opportunity, and also of course distribution is a big market. Now take example of Brazil. Now Sao Paulo. I mean, 120 country nationalities live there. Take example of UAE. 140 country nationalities live there in UAE, right? So all of that is a market.
And how does a, when I'm talking about identifying markets, right, apart from the regions, how do you identify the right kind of products for these markets?
Yeah,
What do
so
you
so the
suggest?
yes, so product is, as I told you, anything which is handmade, and if we are able to prove through some process of either certification or technology, uh, all of these products what I mentioned, and there are so many, anything which is handmade, including swings. Now, for example, like I am a Gujarati, right? And Gujarati Marwadis, you are a Marwadi. So we keep swings in our home. It is compulsory, and everywhere in the
Always,
world it is like that, right?
always,
But
always. Yeah,
swings are handmade also. Today swings are machine made also. But if you can position handmade swings in US has 4 million Indian population, and if you position, then handmade swings would have a market. But you have to prove that it is handmade. Uh, any product which is handmade has an opportunity for the simple reason that in the developed countries they don't make things by hand, so they appreciate the fact. And actually handmade is also handicrafts are connected to artisans. See, today, the particularly after pandemic, the world has become more compassionate, I feel. People realized that we were running after money, but in pandemic it proved that money cannot save your life, and money cannot give you a satisfaction. But supporting good causes, supporting inequity wherever, if and supporting art form which is dying, is what people have started valuing. And if you see United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it is also talking about those things, because robots and artificial intelligence may come and take over economy, but then uh, ultimately people are going to fall upon these human emotions, and that is connected to
absolutely.
this handicraft sector.
The reason why someone buys art is this itself. It's like to reconnect. That's the right
Correct.
word.
Yes, and you see that every day. If I put it in my home, every day I will see, and every day I am able to connect to roots, and I feel good about it. You know,
Right.
I don't know how I will feel seeing a robot every day in my home. Right?
Absolutely.
Uh,
So let's move on to the next part, which is, what are some common challenges you've seen a lot of Indian handicrafts people face, and what should be the strategy they follow to overcome it?
yeah. So, Nikhil, I covered that in the section earlier where I
To
said,
show,
the
being able to showcase that
yeah,
authenticity.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, authenticity, and then quality
Back
control and infrastructure to manufacture, imitation, the geographical indication, IPR, market
and
research,
and then
packaging,
proper
labeling.
packaging, right?
Yes, proper packaging and tags, very important tags. The kind of tags we put, if you go and check all these examples of world renowned products which I mentioned, Kokeshi dolls and Peruvian textiles, you will see the tagging and also QR code. So plus design, innovation, warehousing, online sales. Language barrier is there. Artisans face language barrier, but when exporting, but that is not a very big barrier, because when you go to B2C e-commerce sales, there is nobody talking to you, right? I mean, you are selling online, so there is a technology which is solving the language barrier, but we have to use it. And most important, I feel, is the confidence which a buyer will get that it is actually handmade, which will come through a some kind of a handmade certification through a QR code, where they can actually see people making it, which is very much possible. It is already being done in other products.
Okay. So let's move on to the next part, which is your government and institutional support. What common policies have you seen that the government has tried to encourage a lot of these handicrafts guys? Any particular programs which you want to highlight here, Jagaji?
Yeah, so Nikhil, government has been, see, every government is always sensitive towards, uh, those segments of society which are underserved. So, particularly the current government in India has been extremely, supportive of that. And there are schemes like Market Access Initiative, which is supporting those. There is a National Handloom Development project. There is a Export Promotion Council of Handicrafts. Now what they do is, then there is ECGC. You have support of ECGC then there are very liberal financing which is available for the artisans directly. And because of the Aadhaar card, it has become very easy for them to be able to get it. Then there is the handicraft artisan credit card scheme. Credit card, they actually get a credit card uh, as a handicraft artisan, and they can actually use that to buy raw material, right? Then now, if you take examples of exports, so Export Promotion Council of Handicraft and many other institutions, they organize exhibitions abroad, or they participate in handicraft exhibitions, and artisans are given booth at very, very subsidized cost. So they are able to display that directly into the market, bypassing the in between channels, which actually take away a lot of margins. Business delegations are going from India to abroad to sell. A lot of reverse buyer seller meet happens. So buyers come from abroad, and government of India funds them, and they are scanned. Their credentials are checked whether they are actually importing or not, including government of India asks for their import details which they have imported. So they are very foolproof mechanism. And e-commerce now, for example, government of India is now building a Bharat Mart in Dubai, right? Which will be a physical showroom and warehouse and office kind of a setup. And again, handicrafts can be put up and displayed there. So there are a lot of these government schemes where export promotion is being supported, and also more important is the handloom development, production. The design studio, the heart in Delhi. If you see, there is a Delhi heart where space is given to artisans. Uh, so that way there is encouragement and a lot of skill development. Yeah, if you look at the Skill India program of Government of India, you will find mention of handicraft and handicraft skills being trained, and that is how earlier I was giving you example of Madhubani painting. That lot of youngsters, like almost 2,000 of youngsters, are being trained on Madhubani painting, and they are being given a stipend. And plus, when they become artists, there is recognition. Every year, president gives awards to the artists. In fact, I visited one of the Madhubani painting president award winner in her house, and I mean, she was so proud. She had put up the frame, and she was very proud of the work. And the family members in the house were motivated. The youngsters in the family were motivated to take up this profession because of the respect it got. You know, getting a president's award is a big respect for an artist. So there are a lot of programs, I think, but we need to educate more. We need to go to the grassroots. We need to, uh, educate in the clusters. So about these programs.
Okay, so let's move on. We already touched on this technology's role in expanding reach. I want to add to what Jagatji has been saying that, if having a strong e-commerce presence helps, and for e-commerce, along with the strong e-commerce presence, which is having a good website and all, what I have seen a lot of uh, Indian brands fail to do is invest. Indian handicrafts also fail to do is invest in great photography and videography for their products. So what I mean by that is, if you open a luxury brand in the US or Europe, the how much the brand would have spent on actually making the product, they would have spent the same amount in doing the photography and videography of it. Whereas on Indian sites, I have seen that you'll end up just seeing a smartphone picture, which is not very pleasing. Guys, trust me, the reason someone is making a purchase like this is purely emotional, and your photography and your videography will have to speak to the emotion. Some categories of companies, although you can't strictly call it handicraft, is I've loved seeing a very small example. I'm just taking as a parallel. I've loved seeing Royal Enfield, the bike company's photography and videography for their bikes, where even today they actually hand paint parts of the engine, and them showcasing that. It's really beautiful. Just looking at it, you feel like going and booking a bike. And that's why they're one of the top sellers in UK and Australia, and even
Correct.
in the US they are penetrating. So I really encourage you to invest money there. But anything else you want to add in technology, Jagatji?
Yeah, so on technology, you see what the marketplace is getting organized, and it is organized. Okay,
Right.
but what is marketplace? So if you see, if you go to Amazon, Amazon has a separate section which is called Amazon Handmade.
Correct. Correct.
Amazon Handmade is a section, and they
Yes.
only encourage artists and handmade products there. Then Etsy is doing well. Then Novika is a very interesting portal. Novika, where any product you go and any product you want to buy, there is a it is attached to the story. As I was telling to you about QR code, you in Novika you buy any product, it will tell you who made which artist made it with photograph and their background. So they are appealing to that emotion of people wanting to connect to artists directly, right? So Novika is very popular. Then World Crafts is doing very well. Uncommon Goods is another portal which sells online. Then Fair Trade Wins is one. Tara Projects, there is an American company, 10,000 villages, where they are buying handicraft products from 10,000 villages in the world. So marketplace in terms of aggregator is organized. We just have to connect to that and promote it smartly with all those branding issues which I mentioned, and at the same time standalone portals also have a huge potential. I was talking about this swing. I have one of the student who is selling handmade swings in a standalone portal, of course in Amazon also, but in standalone also, which is I still remember I was talking to you about design and innovation. Earlier we were discussing, and he said, no, swing is very difficult to export because it is taking too much of freight cost, too much of space in a container. But now he made DIY, do it yourself, in a semi knockdown condition, that is very popular in US, in a very very cozy box packaging, and they're all instructions. Now in a small box the entire swing is shipped into several of those into a container, and suddenly the product has become. So design and innovation is very critical. And one very important role of technology is to see fair trade is one aspect which every consumer in the world today see. You mentioned very rightly, Nikhil, that people who are buying handicrafts want to connect to the emotion. So you have to prove that you are in a fair trade, that the income which these artists are getting is a fair income, and they are not being exploited. So there are many institutions which are doing fair trade certification. So we should have those certifications for those artists or cooperatives, and then of course in the developed countries, in the long run, I have always been saying forever, last 27 years, that we need a distribution, we need a warehouse. From the warehouse we can do B2B, we can do B2C also. And the future is online, right? I mean, more and more people are buying everything online, and suddenly you can reach anywhere in the world to the customers. So that's how the technology is connected to the market, and these individuals are small artisans. For them to be able to find a distributor in America is going to be a challenge, but for them to be able to find a single consumer is easy.
Got it. Yep. So, also, guys, what I will do is do subscribe to the channel. Jagatji, I have a guest who has a expertise in doing brand authentication. I'll try to get them in one of the future episodes.
Sure.
But let's move on to the next part. So we've discussed about authenticity and quality as well. So let's move on to the next part, which is future trends in global demand. So what do you see the future is going to be for this space, Jagatji?
Yeah, so Nikhil, before we move to that, I want to add something more on the authenticity and
Authenticity?
quality.
Sure, sure.
Right
Go ahead.
now, for example, as I said, that uniformity of quality is an issue. So we should have some mechanism of inspection. So inspection, then testing, right? And use of authentic raw material, because to even to make a handicraft, you also need to touch on the emotion of the buyer of eco-friendliness. So authentic raw material, and of course the labeling, the story, right? Handmade certification, fair trade practice. Most important element I will tell you on authenticity and quality is, through the same QR code which I was talking about, we can actually have a customer feedback. We are not doing that. If I can put a QR code into the packaging, and if I tell the customers after they have made the purchase that they can give a feedback about the product, it will improve. If they feel the finishing is not good, then it will directly go to the artist, and artist will know that market is saying this. The moment market says, it makes a huge difference, right? And authenticity and quality, another aspect I'll give you. See, productivity is an element of pride. I recall a very interesting example. I was working in LP in Kerala under a World Bank funded project, where we were, taking the coir cluster, which is from the coconut fiber, to the next level of competitiveness. And a lot of doormats made out of coir fiber is exported to US. Now, when we were talking to the workers who make it, by hand, because they make the rope by hand, and then there is handloom where doormat is made. I did not see a sense of pride in them, because they were thinking, what is this hard work we are doing? We made a video, and we made a video in an animation form, and actually real shoots also, like you very rightly mentioned, the video and photography, and we showed the entire value chain. We showed how the coconut is plugged, how it is broken into four parts, how fiber is taken out, how rope is made by women, how it is then made into a doormat, and then how packaging is done, how it is shipped in a container, how it reaches New York, how it is going to the Walmart shop. And actually, we did a real shoot in Walmart shop, that a buyer is coming and looking at various doormats. How did they select a particular one? Then they take it to the cash counter, do the billing, take it to their car, put it in the dicky, go to their home, and put it outside their home. Beautiful bungalow, villa home, they put it. And this video, when we showed to the workers, I mean to the artisans, they said, "Oh, we never knew. We always, yeah, we knew it is being exported. We never knew in such a big house, like a palace, my doormat is there." Before entering, people are using my doormat. I mean, it's like salute before entering a house, right?
Right.
I mean, the sense of pride we could see in them. And actually, truly speaking, we measured a group of 10 women over next 6 months, and we saw 20% productivity going up without change in any other things. So that is something. Now this is connected to authenticity, and because you are actually seeing the marketplace, right, as an artist. And same thing we can do reverse also. We should, that is what I said, use technology through a QR code for the buyer to be able to see the reverse story. Here the artisan is seeing the forward story of market. Let the market also see the backward, I mean the backward linkage story of production.
There you go. I mean, that is very interesting perspective. You always think about the customer. You never think about your own
Correct.
artisans.
Correct.
So, so
Yeah.
guys, I mean, I hope this gives you a way of thinking about this. Let's move on to the next part. I also, sorry, before that, I would like to add that I mean, I may be a bit controversial here, but I've always felt that one of the things which the British were able to do really well to India is make us embarrassed of our culture, if that's the right way of putting it. They managed to take down some of the large best textiles being produced in south in regions like of Tamil Nadu. They managed to take down some really uh, and like essentially seed that in our head that our culture and heritage is not something to be proud of. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That, see, that was, as it was a state policy, because a country like India, if you have to rule, you have to break the education. And actually,
right.
art is like it's like in Gurukul also we used to teach art forms.
Right, exactly. And I feel that that needs to get back. I really feel that there are some incredible cultural and heritage aspects which are very closely linked to handicrafts, which we may have lost, which I hope I still know that they exist somewhere. They have to be brought back up. And the way art makes you feel when you see it is very it has a very it has a very impactful effect on you and your psyche. And I feel that culture is something which is very strong in India, and hopefully a lot more people want that. So let's continue to the next part.
Yeah, so
uh,
Nikhil, like you very rightly you mentioned. So let me add some elements to this. So I
sure.
still recall in a meeting in 2005 when Mr. Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat,
Hmm.
he was talking about yoga being taken global, right? He always had this global outreach mindset, and he said, how to get yoga known in the world. And when he became prime minister that year in December 2014, United Nations declared 21st June as the International Yoga Day, right? And see, there are some strategic things you have to do. Now, see how that vision has translated. Now, the moment International Yoga Day was declared, the mats on which yoga is done, huge artisan industry like came up to make those eco-friendly mats, and today we are exporting those eco-friendly mats,
Wow.
right? Same way I remember 2006, Mr. Modi as a chief minister of Gujarat talking about that what a beautiful heritage and culture we have in terms of Akshardham temple. And he said
Right.
it will be my dream if it is being built in Middle East because it's a symbol of peace and harmony. And see, this year we had a opening of the Akshardham temple. Now,
Right.
same way is the Ram Mandir. The Sthapna of the Ram Mandir. Uh, tourism. Tourism is going to benefit artisans, handicraft artisans. All the handicraft articles which are made, and there will be a marketplace. 50 million people are expected to visit Ayodhya this year. 20 million people visit Makkah and Medina every year, and 9 million people visit Vatican. But 50
Right.
million will come in the first year to Ram Temple. Imagine how much of art can be sold, and people coming from all over the world. Now, actually,
Absolutely.
you may say it is Ram Mandir, but actually you are creating a marketplace for artisans because of such
Right.
a huge tourism coming in.
I'd like to add one more thing here. uh, when I was younger, there was this very nice documentary series which I had stumbled into. It was called Begin Japanology, which actually spoke about different parts of Japanese product which have been exported globally. And why I'm specifically bringing up Japan over other countries is I feel that is one country where they have nourished their culture, they have retained their culture, and that is a great template for us to follow. I mean, Jagatji, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, the I have always been talking that the time when India was called Sone ki Chidiya
Right.
was a time when our art and our culture was valued and we were a knowledge economy. You see, you
Correct.
were talking of textile. I mean, same thing. We used to make a fabric which would pass through a ring.
Right.
The shawl would pass through a ring. It was nothing but knowledge, and
Right.
that is what was skilled when we were ruled by other nations. So
Yeah.
absolutely. And I don't know if today, I'm not sure if do we get a shawl which passes through ring, right? But if we can make it a huge export market just by talking that this will pass through a ring itself talks about the softness and the art which is involved in making it.
Absolutely.
So there are
Absolutely.
so many stories. If you go to any village in India, see, we have six. This is very interesting, Nikhil. We have 630,000 villages in India. Every village has some unique handicraft product because
Wow.
they made it as a necessity for their life, not as a business. And that is why this I forgot to mention. There is a very good program of Government of India which is called One District One Product,
Right.
ODOP,
Right.
where they are promoting this. You know, like so, uh, very similar to Ek Gaon Ek Hunar. Every village has some art. So that is
Right.
what we see. 65% of India's population is still living in villages. How can you
Right.
have a prosperous India and a developed country by 2047 without our villages becoming prosperous? Right?
Absolutely. So, the last segment of this podcast, guys, is future trends and global demand around handicraft. So, what do you see where the market is going, Jagatji?
So, Nikhil, as I mentioned earlier, who is the buyer? The buyer is high income group people, upper middle class population in developed countries, even India, of course. So now we have to have a storytelling. Storytelling is most important as a future trend. That for every product which we are exporting, which is a handicraft product, we have to have a story behind it. We are not marketing the story, we are marketing a product. Today that Kutch embroidery is being exported, Katha embroidery is being, but very few people you ask will not know the story. And that is why I told, when you take a customer feedback through a QR code, ask them whether you know the story about this product. And you will come to know that most of them don't know. And therefore, build a story, tell a story, have a emotional connect. Because every product actually has a story. You are by buying that, you are supporting the family for the children education. You are supporting the family with healthcare. You are taking out people out of poverty. Everybody does charity everywhere in the world. Now, what is a greater charity than supporting a family, right?
Hmm.
So that storytelling, then the sustainability and eco-friendly aspects. Nowadays, most of the organized retail chain stores in the world, they conduct ESG audit, the environmental sustainability and green audit, and uh, we should have that sustainable and eco-friendly elements into our product, and attach the cultural aspect, cultural preservation, see, and continuity. Today I was giving you example of Madhubani painting, that the youngsters don't want to do that because they don't see that their parents were always poor, even though they had the great art. But through, by enabling them, today 2000 youngsters are being trained under a government of India program on Madhubani painting, and they are doing this painting in many other countries, in the drawing room walls and so many other places. So that is something. And cross cultural exchange, very important. Now this is one element. See, countries like Europe and have a program where dance forms, there are cross cultural exchange. Indian dance forms from various regions go to perform there. Their dance forms comes to dance troops comes to India. We have cultural cross cultural exchange. We need similar cross cultural exchange for handicraft. Okay, for example, uh, the place where Tibetan singing bowls are made, or batik textile in Indonesia, or your Russian dolls and the Turkish mosaic, we need to send Indian artists there, and their artists need to come to India, right? And we need to expose each other to. It will create a sense of pride to both. That to those who are doing well, they will feel good. To those who want to catch up, they will know the best practices and they will be able to benchmark with others, right? We see, for example, government of India has a program called ITEC, where they are training foreign bureaucrats from Africa, Latin America, many countries, on how India has transformed itself, particularly in last 10 years. Similar program we need for artisans, because when we give exposure to our artisans, they can do wonders. I have seen private initiatives in India where people under a personal social responsibility in US have invited Indian artists to perform their, I mean, to make their art in a exhibition, in a live form. And I have seen their lives transform, because when they see the actual marketplace and they get exposure, they get highly motivated to continue this as a career, right?
Right.
And then, of course, the two things, as I told, about online e-commerce sales and branding. Now, a lot of people tell me, oh, these artisans are so small, how can they do online e-commerce? So it's not like
No,
that. It's a question
right.
of education, and there are all
Exactly.
these Amazon Handmade and so many portals. I have seen so many artists doing it successfully. We just have to train them. It's about skill, right? So skill development is key. And we should also promote this as a corporate gifting. See, today, if you see the developed countries, billions and billions dollar of corporate gifting happens during Christmas and so many other occasions, like 4th of July in America. And most of these products are Chinese products, which goes into corporate gifting, right? But if you are able to position that, look, as a corporate gifting, it is your corporate social responsibility to support artisan, and artisanal handicraft. It can be huge. I know of American companies who are buying 20, 30,000 pieces of articles as a corporate gift during Christmas to give to all their employees. Companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon and all of them. Now, imagine the kind of market which you will create by creating a gifting, corporate gifting category under handicraft, right? But then for that you will have to have that uniform quality, you will have to have IPR, GI, and certification, and so all that is required to be done. And where government also has a role to play, in private sector, CSR, cooperatives, they have a huge role to play. But I'm telling you one thing, Nikhil, the knowledge based economy has come back. So those days when we were called Sone ki Chidiya, when we had 25% of the world GDP, today we have 2 or 3%, is coming back. And that is reflecting in the growth of Indian IT exports, in pharma exports. And same thing, I see the trend happening in handicraft exports.
There you go. I have one last thing to add to all the handicraft entrepreneurs out there, that the more the world goes towards AI and robotics and things like that, the more machine made products we have, the more we humans will crave for authentic, handmade, human connected products.
True.
More products which have a bit of a spiritual angle to it, more products which have a bit of a life to it, if that's the right word. And there is an immense opportunity there. It's a question of telling that story, as Jagatji has mentioned. So, hope anything, any final parting words for the entrepreneurs, Jagatji?
No, so I will say only one thing. I have always been saying that India is a 4 trillion economy. The world is a 112 trillion economy.
Right.
You will grow in a 4 trillion economy or a 108 trillion economy, right? Right. So exporting is the key. Exporting is key because export is benchmark of competitiveness. A lot of people tell me, "Oh, these are small companies. They are not even selling in all states of, in even 5 states of India. Why you want them to export?" The logic is that the moment a company starts exporting, you come to know about the best practices of your business in the world, and your business in India itself will improve, right? So international market is going to take you through high growth, and there is no country in the world which became a developed country without high percentage of their GDP coming from exports. So it is the duty of every citizen of India, including the artisans, to keep their mind open, to learn things and take small steps and get into international business, because that is where we will get the value. I always tell people, you want to earn 1 rupee or you want to earn $1, you decide, right? So it is very simple decision.
So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. We will be a lot more regular with our episodes. Apologies from my side. This was exporting Indian culture, opportunities in handicrafts and textiles. Dr. Jagat, thank you so much for doing this episode. We will, if you have any questions, let us know in the comment section below. We'll be happy to respond to them. You guys have shown us a lot of love just with 3 or 4 episodes, tens of thousands of views already. So thank you all so much. Thank you for the support. Waiting to hear from you all. Looking forward to answer your questions. See you in our next video. Bye, guys.
Bye.